Good evening, gentlemen. In our last video, we did talk about why should we study psychological theories. All those candidates who are aspirant for joining services or going for any interview, it is necessary they must understand themselves. This they can then only understand if they know what is a personality and how has this theory of personality evolved. How has our development since the childhood till adulthood has come to be formed? What are the factors which are responsible for our development? Gentlemen, even when psychology came into play, bulk of attention was paid not on the child development, but on what are the problems which are involved in not so well developed child. It recently only some lot of work has gone towards direction. So after having talked about why we should study psychological theory, which is going to help you in passing SSB or probably attempting it well, now our aim will be what should you do and why should you study those aspects. We'll talk about it, what we call as a so just let's talk about now what are the theories which we must really try and understand so that it is going to help us in our preparation for our SSB. Okay. First, child development that occurs from birth to adulthood was, as I told you earlier, was ignored historically. Children were viewed as a small version of adults, and people attention were paid to many advances in cognitive abilities, language usage, physical growth that occurs during childhood and adolescence. It's only 20th century saw emergence of interest in child development, and earlier they only focus on abnormal behavior of a child. Later, researchers came increasingly interested into this particular topic, and typical child development as well as influence on development became a matter of interest to all of us. Why is it important to study how children grow, learn, and change now, especially at your age and time when you are going to appear for some interview, you want to pass SSB? Because SSB itself is a check of personality. And until and unless you understand what personality is, how has personality come to be what is today, you will not be in a position to understand your strength as well as weaknesses. I always maintain you must know your strengths and weaknesses, try and work on the strength, and if you can correct your weaknesses, fair enough. But you must really understand your strengths and weaknesses. So its study is important from childhood. It allows us to fully appreciate the cognitive, emotional, physical, social, educational growth that our children go through from birth and to the early adulthood, which most of you are in. Grand theories on child development attempted to, as I had talked last time, attempt to describe every aspect of development, often using what you call a stage approach. Means they divided the lifespan of childhood to adolescence, certain phases, certain stages. Then we have already talked about mini theories. They had a very narrow view. They used to concentrate their studies into very small views, and these mini theories probably would help or would expand on the grand theory which had been proposed. We'll outline a few of the many child development theories. They may not be, we'll just time to understand what it is. In details, we'll talk later on. Okay, first was, as you all know, Simon Freud is supposed to be the father of psychology. He stressed the importance of childhood events and experience, but he exclusively focused on mental disorder rather than normal functioning. Early childhood experience had a lasting effect on course of development. His work was enormously influential and inspired other psychologists to expand upon the work and develop theories of their own. Many of the points that he had said during his in his theories are not being accepted nowadays, or there has been criticism of Simon Freud's theory. He says in his 3 essays on sexuality, as he said, oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital stages of development, he has talked about it. And each stage involved satisfaction of what we call libidinal desire, which can play a role in adult personality. If a child does not successfully complete a stage, Freud suggested that he or she would develop what he called a fixation. There is some sort of problem that would later influence adult personality and behavior. So, gentlemen, if we don't understand, we don't read this Simon Freud's theory of personality, its exposure to children seeking to be an observer is very, very vital. We'll never understand what our personality has come to be, what was so right, what was not so right, what was the problem earlier, and how can we get over those problems. Then came Erik Erikson. Erik Erikson proposed a stage theory of development, but his theory encompasses human growth throughout the entire lifespan, including at my age and time, my personality is also going to change. Erikson believed that each stage of development was focused on overcome a conflict. There is to conflict. We are always under conflict. For example, the primary conflict during the adolescent period involves establishing a sense of personal identity. Success or failure in dealing with the conflicts at each stage can impact overall functioning. During the adolescent stage, for example, failure to develop an identity results in a role confusion. And hence, until we know about this, we will not be able to understand ourselves. Just like say at the first stage, out of 8, he taught trust versus mistrust was 0 to 1 age. And 1 to 3, they call autonomy versus shame. Next, 3 to 6, he called that his age as initiative versus guilt. And from 6 on to puberty is the industry very inferiority. Then at adolescence, he says identity versus rule confusion. Young adulthood, which most of you are there, intimacy versus isolation. Then middle adulthood, there was generative versus stagnation. Then at older people like us, we are still have got confusion, what we call it, ego integrity versus despair. All these things in detail we will talk in the subsequent videos. Okay, next theory on child development was what we call cognitive child development theories. It was Jean Piaget who suggests that children think differently than adults and proposed a stage theory of cognitive development. He was the first to note that children play an active role in gaining knowledge of the world. According to his theory, children can be thought of as little scientists who actively construct their knowledge and understanding of the world. Gentlemen, until and unless we go through them, neither you would be able to find yourself what problem you are facing, nor when you grow up, you will not be able to guide your own children to develop a better personality. Then came behavior child development theories. Behavior theories of child development focused on how environmental interaction influences behavior, and were based upon theories of famous people like Watson, Pavlov, and Skinner. They believed that psychology needed to focus only on observable and quantifiable behavior in order to become a more scientific discipline. Because you cannot understand, you cannot find out what a person is thinking about it. It is only the behavior pattern which is being seen, and you have to predict his personality based upon the behavior that he shows or what is observed. Some insisted on that learning occurs purely through process of association and reinforcement. Association means if you've got good people and you are associated with them, some sort of quality will, in each case, will come back to you. I always, the famous poet, जो कुछ गंधी देतनी तो भी बात सुहास, means a person who is selling itra, and if you remain with him, even if he doesn't give you anything, at least you get a good smell. On the contrary, if you go to near a person who is whose personality is bad, whether you like it or not, some stigma will get stuck to you. So, and this reinforcement means if you do something, you'll get some sort of appreciation. You've done a good job. That will be reinforcement. Development is considered a reaction to reward and punishment. If you do well, you will give a prize. Your mommy will give you sweets. Probably if you don't do well, probably she may not allow you to play. Same goes for them. If you do mistakes, you will be punished. Then it all depends on depends on the stimuli that is one faces. The stimuli is some reaction situation that one faces around there. So this theory differs considerably from other child development theories because it gives no consideration to internal thoughts and feelings. Instead, it focuses purely on how experience shapes who we are. Next came what you call it is a social child development theories. John Bowlby is a great deal of research on social development of children. Bowlby believed that early relations with caregivers play a major role in child development and continue to influence social relationships throughout life. Say, though there are some unfortunate children whose mothers are no more at the young age, then what happens? He or she remains under the care of the caregivers. And the treatment that he gets from the caregiver is directly going to influence the personality that he is going to develop. Then came Albert Bandura. He gave the concept of social learning theory. It has got a powerful effects on observational learning. According to this theory, children learn new behaviors from observing other people. He had conducted a famous experiment wherein which certain dolls were kept caged, another aspect, and that's called the famous experiment. He had done it, and depending upon the reaction or the interaction with the dolls had it, children or the student developed those particular habits itself. So he believed that external reinforcement and intrinsic reinforcement, external is outside, and intrinsic, such as sense of pride, satisfaction, accomplishment, they are all internal to me. And you start working hard to achieve the same because you want to do something in life. That is your sense of pride. By observing the action of others, including parents, peers, children, you develop certain skills and you acquire new information which helps you in developing your own personality. Leib Vygotsky proposed a similar learning theory that has gone on to become very influential, especially in the field of education. Piaget and Vygotsky believe that children learn actively and through hands-on experiences. Okay. His socio-culture theory also suggested that parents, caregivers, peers, and the culture at large were responsible for the development of the higher order functions. Gentlemen, finally, there are some of the smarter theories. We will go into details later on, but we must try and understand. It is not necessary you learn them, but at least understand what has been your development phase. How were you affected in past? What are you today? And what are the corrective measures you can take now to become a better person? Finally, we can say, as we can see, some of the psychologists, best known thinkers have developed theories to help explore and explain different aspects of child development. Not all of these theories are fully accepted today. They all had an important influence on our understanding of child development. Today, contemporary psychologists often draw on a variety of theories and perspectives in order to understand. My recommendation to all of you would be, at least learn it. Today, you people are lucky because most of the information available online, you don't have a dearth of it, you don't have to look around for the books. You've got the net available, and all of you, most of you have got smartphones. Use it, learn it, just scan through it. It will help you to understand yourself, and you will become a better person. Right then, we see you next time on next video. Thank you. If you like it, do try and subscribe to it. Thank you.